Welcome back to Southern Soul Tarot. So today we are going to be looking at an interview from 2011 with Sky News. They are interviewing Kate and Gerry McCann about Madeleine's disappearance. So what I basically want to focus on today in this interview is going to be facial expressions, body movements, any nervous behaviors or looks that they might give off towards one another, or just kind of inappropriate reactions to certain things. So when we're looking over this today, I kind of want us to just really, again, try to cue in on those things. And when I say we, I'm saying we because I feel like, we're analyzing this footage together. We've kind of been going through this case together so far, most of us. And so I just kind of want to see not only, what I get from it, but I also want to see what y'all get from it. So if there's anything during this interview, that I comment on and maybe you see it a different way, or you see something that I didn't see, please bring it up in the comments and chat with each other. So that way we can all kind of put all this information together and see, what all different angles that we're kind of looking at here. Because again, it's always important to not only get your point of view in things, but also other people's point of view, why they might see something differently than you see it, so you can kind of come to a common ground and understand what could have actually possibly happened and why some people might see it one way or the other. So in this particular interview, it is Kate and Gerry McCann, again, talking about, Madeleine's disappearance, how they felt very super safe in this resort. They didn't see anything wrong with it. They were having the greatest time of their life, pretty much for this vacation until this happened. So we're going to go through kind of 7 different facts and reasons that I found that I thought kind of totally debunked their theory of what happened to Madeleine and how it happened. So I do want to say right out the gate that I do think it was an accidental death and that they did cover that up. I think that they had help from their friends, especially David Payne and Jane Tanner. And the reason I feel that way is because they had also did interviews with them. But Jane Tanner's story changes quite a bit about the time that she went to go check on her children, what she saw, and then the description of this person she saw carrying a child. So with that also too, when she gives a description, she doesn't even give a face. So it's basically a faceless person. So that's not helping anybody find Madeleine. So I do think their friends were involved and they had something to do with it. And I think that they were helping cover it up, and that's why the stories have changed and perfected over time, just like the McCanns has. So all the sources that I did get my information from will be in the description section. So let's go ahead and jump right into this video.
But first, for 4 years, Kate and Gerry McCann have lived a never-ending ordeal, and they still don't know when or if it'll ever end. It began on a family holiday in Portugal when Madeleine, their 4-year-old daughter, simply vanished. She hasn't been seen since. Tonight, the mystery deepens. You're about to see home video never shown before and learn the vital clue Madeleine left behind. Here's Ronnie Sadler.
Okay, spin around, darling. Right round. Oh, yes, I can see your wings.
It's a big smile.
Oh, yes. One more. Big smile. That's pretty.
She was an incredibly beautiful baby, actually.
You sound like the most biased parents on the planet now, but she was just really compact and just a really kind of nice, round, perfect head, and and then she opened her mouth and the whole world knew she was with us.
She had McCann level volume, there's no doubt about that.
Yay, well done. Okay, let's sing another one.
I always wanted to be a mother. I don't know, if maybe that stemmed from being an only child and sort of, wanting that feeling of family.
Madeleine was the daughter Kate and Gerry McCann always wanted. For years, Kate struggled to fall pregnant, so when Madeleine came along, they felt blessed. They loved to photograph her, and she loved being photographed. This is the last picture of Madeleine, taken 7 hours before she disappeared.
All right, so before I get into fact number 1, I do just want to say that I do feel they are automatically guilty for whatever happened to Madeleine because they left her and her 3 siblings under the age of 3 in this apartment by themselves on vacation at night. So with that being said, so many other things could have happened. There could have been fires, carbon monoxide leaks, gas leaks. I don't know, one of them could have fallen. Madeleine could have gotten up to look for them and, being a little bit drowsy since they possibly gave her something to sleep since they knew they were going to be out at the restaurant. I don't know, maybe she crawled on the couch, fell off and hit her head. Something like that could have happened. So for them to say that they're, what they did is okay as far as leaving the children alone, and also saying that many British people and families do that, I don't believe that that's true. And I think that offended a lot of people because it's making it sound like their negligence is something that's accepted because of where they're from. And I think that's a whole lot of BS. So whatever could have happened to those children in the apartment boils down to time. Because if something happened to them, how quickly could somebody have responded? Would that have made a difference? So if Madeleine fell and hit her head, wouldn't being able to get to her as soon as possible make a difference, being that they're doctors and everybody they're with are doctors and know this? So they also, make points about, well, if it was just an accident, why wouldn't we have called the cops? Because I do believe they were sedating the children, but I also feel like worse was going on in that situation. So if you did something and your child passed away and you know that you gave them something or left them in a situation that put them in danger even far beyond what happened to them during this accident, then you would be definitely at fault. So that's why I find that this is such a big deal that they are trying to make up this story. And also the thing about this picture, they are saying this is the last known picture of Madeleine, and that is not true. They said it is taken at May 3rd, and I believe he says it is taken at 2:29 p.m. So from what I saw, and I did also put numerous videos up about this video was taken on April 29th, and I believe it was like about 12 in the afternoon. If I get the time wrong, I apologize, but I do know it was taken on April 29th to my knowledge. 30th, the latest. And actually, that is the last physical day that anybody had even seen Madeleine. They also make up this sailing story later that she had went on with the kids group for this sailing boat trip, and that, some little girl's hat blew off and that she jumped into the water looking for this hat, right? And nobody remembers seeing Madeleine, not the children or the staff, before or after this incident. So it makes you wonder who spoke about this incident and why is this the only thing they remember of Madeleine? So that right there is a lie. They're not telling the truth. Fact, they're not telling the truth about that day that this picture was taken. Okay, so that's my first number 1 reason and fact why they're lying. So let's go ahead and get to number 2 soon.
There's a photo of her that afternoon that was taken at 2:29, I think, so we've got it on the digital camera. And she was just sitting by the pool with myself, and we've both got our feet just paddling, and she's so happy.
It's been 1,543 days since Madeleine McCann vanished. To keep Madeleine's case alive, this private couple has revealed more of themselves than ever before. Kate and Gerry are both doctors. They married in 1998, and in 2001, after 3 years of failing to conceive naturally, they began IVF. 18 months later, on the eve of another hospital appointment, Kate did a home pregnancy test.
A little line appeared on the test. I'm a doctor, and it says on the box, any kind of line is a positive, but I was like, I'm not sure. But there's that faint kind of...
Showed it's me, and I'm like, it's definitely.
It's definitely.
No question.
And obviously we had a scan, and there was a little beating heart, and that was our little Madeleine, so...
Who's that present for?
That's for Andrea.
Are we going to post it today?
No.
We are.
Here's my letter.
Who says Say yes, Daddy.
Yes, Daddy.
Okay.
And then, in May 2003, 3 became 5.
When she first saw the twins, she was just ecstatic. absolutely ecstatic.
Oh, this is a very big Thomas. Santa was a pink toys. Oh, Alice.
Felt blessed, really, at that time.
You say the family felt really complete.
You know, we did feel incredibly lucky.
In late April 2007, the McCanns decided to travel to Portugal for a family holiday. In the pink pants climbing the stairs to the plane is Madeleine.
Oopsie, you all right?
It was the McCanns' first overseas holiday as a family, and they went with 3 other couples.
Cheer up, Gerry, we're on holiday.
It's a small resort. It was out of season, end of April, beginning of May, and it was incredibly quiet. We felt very relaxed there, very relaxed.
In the evening, the children were put to bed by 7:30, before the adults had dinner together down at the pool. From where they ate, Kate and Gerry could see the back of their apartment and left the door unlocked.
So the second fact and reason for me that Kate and Gerry McCann are lying is the fact that you cannot see the patio apartment from where they were sitting at the dinner table. I'm going to pull up the aerial view of it, and then I'm going to pull up the visual view of it from, like, if you're sitting at the table to the apartment, so that you can very much see. You cannot have a clear shot of the patio windows, and so they left those unlocked. So remember that too when they bring in the crying incident. They said someone tried to abduct possibly the Madeleine, and they never say the twins really. They kind of throw it in there maybe later, but mainly Madeleine. So they are saying that they left this patio unlocked when Madeleine was crying and saying, and her brother and her woke up the night before, and where were the parents? You know, so with that being said, you still leave the patio door unlocked the next night and go somewhere that you can't even see the patio from where you're sitting. That's 50 yards away, basically. To my knowledge, half a football field. So let's go ahead and look at the views of the apartment and the restaurant. And so you can kind of see for yourself that it is not that clear of a shot. It's not that fast of a walk. And then we will get into the rest of the facts and reasons why I think that they are lying still. And then we will continue on. So just one moment. Let me pull up those maps for you. Okay, so from this map, you can see that this is going to be where they dined at right here. And this is their apartment. So he said it was a straight shot. It's not really a straight shot. You would have to walk around the pool, up the walkway, then around, and then up to the patio. And if you didn't go that way, you'd have to walk all the way around, which makes it even further, and then up to the patio or the back door. So, yeah, it's not a straight shot. It was half a football field away to my knowledge. And that's kind of the layout of the apartment and the pool and the restaurant that they were speaking of. So if you're sitting right here at the pool, you can see you cannot see straight across because there's trees blocking it. And there's also bushes right here. You can see them from the front. So that is the view that they're telling you that you should be able to see it. And it's no problem from the seat you're at. And you can clearly see that's not true. So now that we've seen that picture of the layout of the resort and how it is not as close distance as they claim, I want to point out that they never ever say how wrong they were about it being safe, how wrong they were about possibly, being able to see everything that was going on. They don't say, well, we couldn't see the patio, we left it unlocked. That's more than likely where they came in, because wouldn't that be what you think? If they were watching them as much as they say they were watching them, they should have known the patio was unlocked, as many people had gone in and checked on the children at that point, as their story says, allegedly. So if that was the case, why would the intruder go through the window when you can't even see the patio and it's unlocked? So that right there also shows you that they're lying. I also do want to say that some of the videos that Gerry McCann takes of Madeleine are kind of uncomfortable feeling to me. And I will get more into that later in the video. But I feel like he says things and directs her a lot of what he wants her to say, what he wants her to do, and then praises her for it. So, and again, there's nothing wrong with taking videos of your children. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm not saying that's the part that's weird. The part that I'm saying is weird is that he's literally telling her what to say and what to do in the video. Constantly in a very kind of creepy voice. So that's just my opinion. But again, let's go ahead and get into the rest. I just want you all to keep that in mind for the rest of the video. and, you know, any other videos and interviews that of the past where he's mentioned things like this.
Directly from the back of the apartment was a straight line to where we're dining. It's only 50 metres.
50 metres.
That's a direct line.
49.4 on Google if you want to be really specific.
But proximity was very close.
Madeleine and the twins slept in a room at the front of Villa 5A. Kate and Gerry believed their shuttered bedroom window, overlooking the car park and street, was closed and locked. Every half an hour, the parents would take turns to check on each other's children.
We thought that was the best thing. And it seemed to work absolutely fine, and we didn't have any problem right up till the Thursday morning when Madeleine said, "Oh, why didn't you come when we cried last night?" We thought, that's odd.
You now think somebody had either tried to get into the room or was in the room and woke them up the night before?
It just seems too much of a coincidence that she made that comment and then that happened that night.
Looking back now, you think that could have been your one chance to save her?
Well, as soon as I discovered that Madeleine had been taken, it just hit me straight away what she'd said that morning, and I just thought, oh my God, someone tried the night before.
On Thursday night, Kate put her daughter to bed for the last time.
But my memory of that evening is really vivid. I mean, she was really tired, but she was just cuddled up on my knee, and we read a story. And we also had some treats. I had some crisps and biscuits. And then after they'd done the usual kind of toilet teeth, we went through to the bedroom and read another story, If You're Happy and You Know It. Yeah.
At 9 p.m, Gerry checked on Madeleine and the twins.
I actually stuck my head round the door, and I just lingered for a few seconds and thought how beautiful she was. And that's the last time I saw her.
Okay, so this is the reason that I feel very unnerved by Gerry's comments of he lingered staring at how beautiful she was and how lucky he was. Because in the videos, he's always telling her to say, yes, daddy, and things like that. There's also a lot of photos that came out later that were kind of pulled off of different devices where she's wearing makeup. She's kind of looking very Jean-Benet Ramsey, like kind of fixed up in the pictures. Now, not beauty like teased hair, but makeup, poses, things like that. And there is, been alleged theories and that Gerry and his friend David, who were all on the trip, possibly are into inappropriate things with children. So I'm just going to say that. And I do believe it's true. So I believe that's why he says a lot of these odd things. I believe that's why all these videotapes were taken. I believe that if you listen to what he's telling her to do and the way he's responding after she does it, it makes my skin crawl. So that's just my opinion. Very creepy. And I do feel like the crying incident's made up because also in Peter Hyatt's analysis, he also did say, like, kids that age do not go, oh, well, my brother was crying and so was I. They really don't do that. So I do find that odd that they would try to emphasize the story so much, especially because they are the ones admitting that they left the patio unlocked the next night. So if you were so concerned, why'd you leave the patio unlocked the next night? And if the crying incident here, again, she's very much blowing it off. I think in my video, second or third video of Kate McCann and Gerry McCann speaking about this, they're going back and forth in two different interviews between blowing off that they didn't look more into the incident of her crying and then also saying that they wish they would have, almost into tears, Kate. So it's day and night. And this one is the same thing. They're kind of also trying to downplay that incident because it's not true. Another issue that I want to bring up, I have also released another video, and it is part of this interview, this very interview, and it is banned in many countries. So like, you're not able to watch it. So it's not even like, oh, you can't see some parts of it, or like I'm being demonetized for it. Like, you can't even view it or watch it in certain countries. So again, if you're trying to find your child, you had nothing to do with it and nothing is nefarious about it, why is it blocked in certain countries? That'd be something very interesting to know. And the only thing that I could find in the video, and this goes with the abduction theory, is something Gerry says. So I'm going to read what he says. So in this, he says that, someone had mentioned to him, well, maybe she's been stolen to order. There was a bunch of pictures taken, the picture he shows by the pool, and there was pictures after that where she has on makeup and she has her hair pinned back, and they are wondering if some of those pictures, who were they sent to? Because those were actually pictures that were taken after the pool that they decided not to share. So that is why I'm saying I think there's something a lot deeper going on here. I think the government is helping him because they're hiding their own secrets. Like a lot of things that are coming out right here in the United States right now with our government and some of Hollywood. All I'm going to say is I feel that people know things about each other within this circle and even higher up in the government, and maybe even higher than that within whoever is helping him. And that is why this is going the way it's going. So let's go ahead and get into the rest of the video.
Last time you saw her, you thought how lucky you were.
Exactly. Your world shattered within an hour.
At 10 p.m, it was Kate's turn to look in on the kids.
The bedroom door where the 3 children were sleeping was open much further than we'd left it. I went to close it to about here, and then as I got to here, it suddenly slammed. And then as I opened it, it was then that I just thought, I'll just look at the children. And literally as I went back in, the curtains of the bedroom, which were drawn, were closed. It was like a gust of wind kind of just blew them open, and the curtains, which had been closed, just swung open into the room and revealed that the shutter was all the way up and the window being pushed right across. And then I just knew she'd been taken.
Kate says after a quick, frantic search of the apartment, she ran back towards Gerry, who was still with their friends at the table by the pool.
I remember exactly where the table was. It was kind of in this bit. So it'd be about round here. And I was kind of sitting in this bit. Yeah, Kate was clearly distraught, and I jumped up. But it was kind of disbelief. She can't be gone. She can't possibly. How could she be gone? And I was saying that to Kate as we were both running.
Police were called within 15 minutes, but they didn't arrive for nearly an hour. It took them another 2 hours before they bothered to seal off Madeleine's bedroom. British investigators later called it the worst preserved crime scene they'd ever encountered. Roadblocks and checks weren't put on Portugal's borders for a full 12 hours. And within days, hundreds of guests, potential witnesses and suspects had checked out and left without ever having been interviewed.
The night seemed so long. Every second was excruciating, and it was dark, and you just wanted to be light and everybody searching, and Madeleine found.
It's thought Madeleine was taken shortly after 9 o'clock. In the following 45 minutes, there were 2 significant sightings of a man carrying a young girl. The first by Jane Tanner, one of the McCann's friends.
I was walking up here, probably as I got to, it's hard to know exactly where, but probably about here, I saw the man walk across the road there, carrying the child.
Jane had seen a man carrying a child away at 9:10, 9:15.
But no one took any notice because no one knew then that Madeleine was missing. They thought the man was a local father carrying his own sleeping child. 2 different witnesses reported seeing a man watching the McCann's apartment in the days leading up to Madeleine's disappearance.
All right, so the reason that I kind of want to call BS on this part and say that this is also a lie is because I do feel like the Kate and Gerry, like, kind of insisting that the kids were possibly drugged only kind of gives more validation to the fact that they probably drugged them, because they're saying that they were being watched possibly, right? And that, somebody waited for them to leave, snuck into the shutter they thought was locked instead of the open patio that they would have seen was open because they were watching, and they drugged their kids. So the problem I have with drugging the kids is that they claim so many times, and Kate had said they had eaten crisps, crackers, had their bath, and that they were extremely tired. She could barely keep them awake. And that's why they left them there instead of going to the Millennium, even though they had reservations for every night at the Tapas, and that's what they had done so far, except maybe the first night. But since then, they had done that every night so far. Tapas, they had reserved it every night for dinner. So the reason I feel that the drugging is a lie is because if the kids were so extremely tired and they were only trying to steal Madeleine mainly because that's who they keep saying was targeted, why would they need to drug all the kids to do that? And when did they drug the kids to do that? Because if the kids were already asleep when you left, you could barely keep them awake. Did they come in after you left and then drug them and then waited another 30 minutes and then came back and took Madeleine and we're gonna wait another 30 minutes to come back and take the twins? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, you know? So, and also their time frames change on when they went to check on the children. It varies from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So I just feel like the whole drugging theory is because they were drugging them. And if it were to ever be found in the system somehow, if Madeleine were to be found, I think that, you know, that would maybe possibly be there and that would be a reason for it. Now, also, if they were concerned about the kids being drugged and they thought the twins were drugged, because not only did police, volunteers and them say that the kids were picked up or at least picked up during all this happening, never woke up, and this was a 6-hour span. Police, you know, volunteers and their own parents, you know, moving them around and things going on around them. So that was the, you know, Kate's and Gerry's theory of why the kids were drugged. But again, it just doesn't float for me. It makes no sense. So to me, that means they drugged them and they knew they were drugged. And the reason they didn't test them is because they knew what was in their system. So, and it might have been in their, you know, in their medicine bags or trash or somewhere within the vicinity that could have been found. But I do want to bring up, that's why I think that they are lying about that, and that debunks that. So for me, that is a fact that they are lying.
But the Portuguese police turned their focus on Gerry and Kate. In September, 4 months after she went missing, the McCanns returned to the UK as suspects.
Did you kill your daughter?
No, that's an emphatic no. I mean, the ludicrous thing is what's been purported from Portugal is that Madeleine died in the apartment by an accident and we hid her body. Well, when did she have the accident and died? Because the only time she was left unattended was when we were at dinner. So if she died then, how could we have disposed or hidden her body, you know?
Pay attention right here. They're playing with the timeline. They're basically letting you know she was dead before that night. And that's why there was nothing in the apartment, because they cleaned it all up before anybody came in. So right here is where Richard Hall was talking about that they are lying as far as the timeline. This is why the last known photo is April 29th of Madeleine, and nobody has seen her physically since then. So just that's a reason I want to stop and pause here, because they are playing with a timeline and they're telling you exactly how she died and what they did with her.
You know, when there was an immediate threat, it's just nonsense. So, and if she died when we were in the apartment or fell and did, why would we cover that up?
And that gets even more ludicrous, that we've obviously hidden her somewhere incredibly well, where nobody's found her.
Incredibly
and we hid her
well.
so well that we then decided we'd move her in the car, which we hired weeks later. And, you know, it's just ridiculous.
And the other reason this is not ridiculous is because they had made numerous comments about a black tennis bag during interviews, her friends and her and her husband. So, you know, as we all know, blood and cadaver dogs hit within the wardrobe. Whenever you hear her and Gerry and all the friends tell stories of how they searched for Madeleine, where they looked, they will tell you they looked in places that Madeleine could not even possibly fit. Why would you look at a cabinet or a cupboard? Why would you look underneath a bed with about this much space that's not going to fit a child under it? You're looking there, and actually she was even said to be looking under a car. The trunk car area, interestingly enough, because that's where her rental hit, was in the boot of the car, and the passenger and driver's side of the car was hit for cadaver and blood whenever they were searching for it. But she is letting you know they looked all these places for Madeleine, but they looked all these places that Madeleine couldn't physically fit. So that's another thing that you want to keep in mind about them lying. So let's go ahead and get into the rest of the video.
When you come back to Portugal, do you feel closer to Madeleine?
And although I don't know where Madeleine is, that is the last place that I saw her and held her, and I guess there's a part of me that still feels connected to her there. So.
If Madeleine is alive, she'd now be 8 years old and possibly looks like this. And a reason for not giving up hope comes from this young woman. When Natasha Kampusch was 10, she was abducted near her home in Vienna. Like with Madeleine, the police were slow to act. And as the years passed, they believed she'd either been smuggled across the border by a pedophile ring or killed. But all...
Right away, I want to say this is not like Madeleine at all. She was elementary age. She was walking to school on her own and got abducted. Madeleine was in an apartment with her siblings that her parents left her in with an unlocked door. Two totally different situations, and she was 3. So again, look at what the media is trying to do. They're trying to confuse you and make you think they're similar because the police didn't do what they were supposed to do. No, the parents didn't do what they were supposed to do. Now, in the other girl, Natasha's case, I don't know about her parents, but what I'm saying is a child is way more likely to be abducted walking to school or walking somewhere and doing something on their own versus being in an apartment with their parents and being checked on every 20 minutes, even though nobody I know leaves their children in an apartment on vacation for 20 to 30 minutes alone ever.
All the while, the whole 8.5 years, she was living in a cellar under this house, just 15 kilometres from her own home. Natasha was kept in a purpose-built dungeon. She was given up for dead by virtually everyone except her mum.
My mother always thought that I'd be alive.
Then, after nearly 9 years in captivity, her kidnapper finally let his guard down and Natasha escaped.
Do you still have nightmares?
Sometimes, but I'm looking forward. Mostly I'm looking in the future and not back.
Are you confident that you can now live a normal and happy life?
I think so, yes. I hope so.
I think kids can be written off, missing kids can be written off too easily. You cannot do that. You cannot give up on a child.
So before we get into the end of this video, I did want to give number 6 reason why I think that they are completely lying, and the facts that they are lying is because we do have blood cadaver hounds that have hit on the wardrobe of the apartment, Kate's clothes in the apartment. They also hit on the rental car that they rented after Madeleine went missing. It was in the trunk and also around the driver's side and passenger side. And there was also some blood found in the apartment behind the couch and on the walls, which was a bit of blood spatter. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't believe blood and cadaver dogs are ever going to hit wrong. That's almost like saying a drug dog would hit wrong. If you trust a drug dog, then why would you trust a cadaver? So they are trained on cadaver enzymes, body smells, all of those things that happen after that process starts. So they usually do not confuse them for anything else. That is what they are born to do. So for anybody to debunk these animals are on the wrong side of this case. So I do want to say that I do feel the cadaver dogs were completely right. They found it numerous places. They even found it on Madeleine's stuffy that she carried. They hit on that as well. So, I just wanted to bring that up because those are facts. Dogs are not going to be wrong. So it's not a possible, again, because the dogs also went through other apartments and they did not hit on anything. Not a possible drop of blood or maybe a dirty diaper. So why would they only hit in that apartment? So, and that is why, the tennis bag that I mentioned just a minute ago has never been found. So that is, the tennis bag was on the shelf that the dogs hit in the wardrobe. So let's go ahead and look at the last few minutes of this video.
With no police force currently investigating Madeleine's case, the McCanns are using their own money, including royalties from Kate's book, to hire investigators and former police to continue the search for Madeleine.
Kids are survivors.
You know, Madeleine means tower of strength. Wherever she is, whoever she's been with, whatever's happened, we will get her through it.
You will not rest until you find your daughter, until you wrap your arms around her.
I don't believe any parent could, you know, and I don't believe we could ever reach a point where we just think, oh, well, we've done everything now. You know, whilst the situation remains as it is, you know, Madeleine's out there and she needs us to find her.
You'll keep looking forever.
We will.
Okay, so the main reason I wanted to do this number 7 fact and reason why I feel they are guilty is because of this Julia girl who's come about from Poland. Even if she is Madeleine, they have thrown her in jail from the time she got to the airport. I've seen many cases where the people have had people come forward saying that they are their child and they automatically give DNA, no issue at all. So I can't really figure out why this would be an issue for them. And I never hear them give support to any other missing families. It's always as to how much interviews they can get, how much money they can get, and what, you know, how innocent they are and how great they can look to the public. Also, in Kate's book, she says a lot of disturbing things about what she feels could have possibly happened to Madeleine and how it keeps her up at night and haunts her. So if you have not read her book or heard any excerpts from it, I would highly suggest looking at her book and maybe possibly looking at Richard Hall's videos and seeing what it is that she exactly spoke about in her book. I know if I felt those things, I would never write that in a book and say that for the whole world to see. So there's very many disturbing things that you see the more you dive into this case. I do feel that there is some type of pedophilia attached to this, and this is why this is being hidden so much. So I want to thank you all for following this series so far. It has definitely been a deep dive for me. I've learned so much that I didn't know before, and I hope y'all have as well. Again, if there's anything that I didn't mention in this video that y'all would like to talk about, or anything that you felt that you were looking at a different viewpoint than I am, please, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Please like, share, comment on this video, just so that we can kind of, maybe get some more perspective on it. It would be great. So I want to thank you all for joining me for this series. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if there's anything that I left out, again, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to include it. So y'all have a great rest of your day. I will talk with y'all soon, and thank you.